This is the first episode of my Red Riding Hood project. Hello my friends, and let's get started. My patrons suggested to me that I make videos in stages so you can finish one stage without having to wait for the next video. And this means the first episode will be exclusively about finding the right idea and creating a very basic composition concept. And in our latest episode of Behind the Scenes, which is a reward for the patrons, exclusive reward, we talked about how to use artboards and created this artboard in the video. And there's some nice ideas here you can see. And I really like that concept of having Red Riding Hood in the front and then behind her there is this big wolf somewhere in the scene, somehow ghostly also. This is a very nice kind of idea. And I have to say, I cheated a little bit because I already selected the pictures on the internet. You can just go, for example, to Unsplash, but also to a lot of other pages. When I enter here Red Riding Hood, you can find very nice pictures. And you can see the very first, I really like that picture. So I was using that and selecting other pictures. For example, for the forest, you can find nice forest pictures and you can really spend hours on that. And I really would suggest you do that. Find your own pictures, find your own compositions. And even if you're not going to finish it, just creating the basic concept of the composition gives you a lot of understanding and feeling for why different compositions and colors and light situations and all that kind of things are used. So I'm switching over to Affinity Photo now, and I'm going to import or place the picture of Red Riding Hood. Here you have my folders called materials, so it's very easy to find. You can see there are different kind of pictures to work with. So there's our Red Riding Hood, and the most important part about a basic composition is that you're not going to go into details right away. So you are working really fast and really messy. I'm creating a mask here because I don't want to cut anything from this. And I'm just going to paint around her. Let's make this a little bit harder. Roughly. So that we just see her in the picture. So it's very easy to move her around and play around in the composition to see what we want to do. So this is a very fast and easy way to do that. Let's make this a little bit, this is too big. There we go. This doesn't have to be clean at all. It really doesn't matter. It's just so we can position her in the picture quick and easy and find where to place it, and then go into the details later on when we are sure about the compositions. I'm almost done here. There we go. You see, really quick job. Looks like a paper cutout. That's completely okay. And I want to show you two ideas I was playing around with. So we have this picture. I put it in the wrong layer. There we go. And then we had this picture here. And I want to show you both because of the different characteristics that they have and a different kind of story that they are telling, because this is important when you think about these things, when you plan these things and what you want to express. And you don't, two things I want to suggest you is, first of all, don't go into the project with a complete idea, plan to the last detail, unless you are experienced and know how it will turn out. Otherwise, really stay open to different ideas, different influences that you might find over the course of planning your different kind of compositions and playing around with the elements, because this will give you a lot more experience, but at the same time make the work a lot richer and more interesting, instead of staying like tough and hard on your first idea. Like I said, unless you're really experienced and know how it's going to turn out, you will have a very hard time as an unexperienced creator to plan something and already know how it will look in the end. So if we look at this picture, we see we have a wild forest. There is no pathway, nothing. This is just nature. It's just in the forest. Now, if you compare this to the other picture here, let's move this up a little bit. I think this is too big. I have to resize this a little bit. This is a very different story here, because you can see that there's a pathway, and so this is a forest part that's organized. It's touched by human hand. And when we have now our Red Riding Hood and we would place her on this path, she would still be on a safe path, and she would still be in an area that is controlled by people and that has this kind of feeling of safety, of organization, of home, basically, which is very different to this other forest, which is just a wild forest. And as we place her here, you can already see just from her face. If you look, it's the same face, of course, but when you look at both forests, here she looks relaxed. It's an afternoon stroll. Everything is okay, and it's a nice day. Everything is good. When you look at this, the same position, the same face, you see more like a person who looks like she's lost. She's not sure where she is. She tries to find a way. So you can see, just based on these elements, how strongly a composition is changing with these elements. So be open for that, play around with that, make different compositions, save them and let them settle for some days maybe, and come back to it and look at them if you still like them, or which of those is your favorite. Okay, so let's go to the next element. Another thing, by the way, that I found on the web, and I will link all these pictures in the video description so you can use them, is this little squirrel. And I know it has nothing to do with the actual picture of Red Riding Hood and the wolf. But the important part is to be open to these small elements in your work, because they can make your work a lot richer. To have these kind of funny things here, or interesting elements, or little details that might enrich the story, that give you a little bit more detail, a little bit more story. And when we go to our artboard, we can see here, for example, when you look closely at this picture, you can see that there is blood on the floor. And if you look even more closely, you can see that the blood seems to run from her leg. So she's bleeding, and there is blood on the ground here. And either, I don't know, he is following this kind of blood, or she already attacked him and it's his blood. It's kind of hard to tell, but these details are in here, and they give you something to think about, give you a little bit more story and more detail. And ultimately, they make a work much, much more interesting, because there is different kind of things to find. Also, another part here is when you look at her head, seems to be like this kind of wool head with this little, how it's called, this kind of round pom-pom kind of thing on the end, which makes it a little bit playful and girlish. And so you can see that this is kind of like a girl who's going to school or something like that. She doesn't look like a medieval countryside girl in this picture. So these are interesting details that give you, or give the viewer, a little bit more of a hint what you want to tell, what you want to say in your picture. Okay, let's go back to our picture. I will make again here a very quick mask around this squirrel, so we just have to cut it out. There we go, very quick. You can see, don't waste time on that in the beginning. I just want to be sure that I can use it in a way that doesn't hinder my composition, but at the same time not waste any time on too much detail. And bam, there we go. Messy cutout, but you can see it works. It does work. So let's go to the next part. And I was playing around with either putting a wolf in the middle of the picture. So we have this wolf here. Again, I put it on the wrong layer. Let's put the other wolf too. This is the guy here coming in from the side. And I found something that's kind of interesting for this project. So we have this guy here, And if we put it in the background, I will just now multiply him so we have kind of an idea of what it would look like if this guy is in the background. And the thing is, it looks interesting, but it doesn't really mix too well with her position of the body and the gesture that she's doing and the look, because if she looks like this, where exactly is the look going? Because you have to think about in a composition about different lines of view that are happening. And again, when we look at these pictures, we can find here, there is always different kind of lines that you'll find that will guide the eye. For example, here we have this line going down here and then pointing at the girl. So that's important, but also she's looking down here, and here we have the stem going up to the wolf. So these are some lines, but of course here we also have these lines, but we also have here the trees in the background that frame the girl. Make it a little bit darker around her, so she's really pointed out to us in a nicer way. But we can also see from these very small details here from the stripes that she is looking up to him. She's not looking down on the ground. So I think this is also why this stripe and maybe also this kind of pom-pom thing here was put in place, so we know in what direction she's looking and that her head is not hanging down. Stuff like that is very important. Okay, let's go back to our composition. So I thought that this is not mixing too well, but then we have this guy here, and let's also multiply that guy. Now you can see that her look is going to him, and this works. So I thought, okay, this is a much better idea. It's off-center, so there's more dynamic in it also. That's very nice. And then I found another thing, and that is that we have in our background a change of light. So here it's light, here it's going darker. And an important thing to know when you do composition is, let's create, 1 second, there we go. When you create a composition, you have to know that there is a line here in the center, and everything that is on this side is home, and everything that is on this side is away. So we can work with that in our composition, and I thought a good way to work with that is to switch this to the other side. So arrange and flip horizontally. So it is like this. And now you can suddenly see that she's going from kind of a light and okay home into a dark and strange place that's away. So it's going into the darkness. And then when we place this guy over here, he would be blocking the way into home, so she can't go back. And this is already an interesting story happening. And there is another element that really helps us, and that is, let's hide this thing, we don't need it anymore. We have these two trees here, and we can use them as a frame to put her between these two trees. So this is very helpful. The squirrel we can put wherever, it doesn't matter right now. But you can see that this gives a much more interesting composition. So the next thing I want to do is to cut out this guy here. Let's go back to normal and create a mask. And again, cut him out or paint him out really quickly. Where's our brush? There's our brush, okay. Set it hardness 50 and the size a little bit bigger. And so you can see just by playing around, you get a lot of ideas. And it doesn't matter if you stick to your original idea or not. It's better if you go away from it and rather find something that works better and is more interesting than trying to fulfill your original concept, even if it turns out it doesn't work. And it's easy to fall into the trap. I know that from own experience and from seeing it with so many other creators, that they cannot let loose and they waste a lot of time and end up with a bad result because they didn't want to let go from their original concept. And I really wanted to suggest to you a try around. Don't be afraid to fail and to change your ideas. So I'm almost done here. There we go. And then we will do some color stuff and also create a little bit of atmosphere in our picture. So I think this is good enough. Maybe a little bit more between the legs. There we go. Okay, good. So the next thing that I want to do, first of all, of course, I want to place this guy a little bit better so he's actually standing on ground. So like this. And then what I thought is, let's make this guy black and white, first of all. So we pull this in here. So now he's black and white. And now with the blend settings, layer blend settings, we can set it to hard light. And we can also recolor that guy. Where's recolor? There's recolor. And give him kind of a ghostly blue. There we go. Like this. Did I put the blend? I put the blend on the black and white. I was wrong. I have to put it here. There we go. Okay. I have to put the recolor on top. Otherwise, it's also black and white. And this is a lot too extreme. So what I wanted to create was more like a ghostly kind of wolf. There we go. That's nice. And another thing that I want to do now is to add a little bit of glow to him, which doesn't work right now. Why? I think I'm on the wrong layer again. Yes, I am. Okay, let's do some outer glow. There we go. So we have this kind of ghost feeling, a little bit of blue. And this doesn't have to look good at all. Don't worry about that, because this is about seeing if it works and not about making it work. So that's a big difference, but a very important difference. Another thing I want to do now is to have some red glowing eyes at this moment. So let's create them real quick. So let's put these eyes here. And again, doesn't have to look good, really doesn't matter. Put some glow in here. Make this a bit red. There we go. Orange, okay, works too. The inner glow I will set to center. There we go, that's good. Okay, so this works for now. Maybe the wolf should be a bit bigger. And of course, another element and that is very important for this part here is that I downloaded another thing, and that is fog. There is the fog. It's very low from the resolution, but again, this doesn't matter because it's not how we use it in the final version. It's just how we use it to get started and to get a kind of an idea or concept. So let's put this here. It's way too strong. So we will make it softer. There we go. I will save this for now. I fear this might crash. Let's call this live. Good. And wow, okay, it's a bit big because of all the original size resolution pictures. But you can see we're going in the right direction. We're really going into an interesting direction. And now I'm just adding some more layers of fog to make this more interesting and maybe move the elements a little bit around so we get a bit better composition. So there we go. And this is now it's really easy. You just hold your control key, click and move, and this will create a duplicate. And then just resize it, and the resized version will just look like a little bit of different fog. And like I said, it doesn't really have to work 100%. It's good enough if it works just for the moment, just for getting an idea of the composition. That's good enough. So there we go. We have 3 different layers of fog getting brighter to the ground. So there we go. Let's bundle this into a group. And I will also bundle this into a group with the wolf, so we have an easier time moving stuff around. And I'm going to delete the layers that I'm not using. So this layer and that layer and also this layer. Okay, there we go. So now I would maybe move her around a bit. Not sure. Lower, but not too close to the edge. Maybe make him a little bit bigger, just for the sake of the axis of view, because you can see here when you look at her eyes where she's looking at. So she's looking up like this. So this should point at him and his eyes. So that's important to have this kind of axis in the picture here. And well, the squirrel is over here. I'm not sure if we're using it, but it's kind of a nice detail, so maybe we can. Also, we down here, I don't know if you've seen this, she is holding a light, and we can of course create light here in the picture. I don't know if we necessarily need to do that right now, but we can give it a shot real quick. Let's create some yellow. And I'm not doing it in a nice version. I'm just doing it. Bam. Did it? Why is it not drawing anything? Let's put this up here. Flow is at 0. Why is flow at 0? Okay, 1 second. I think I reduced the flow instead of the hardness. Okay, let's do it like that. And we can... Let's see if this is a good idea. Outer glow. Whoa, that's way too extreme. Well, it does work. We don't have to make it super good. It's just to get an idea, but it's kind of, I mean, from the basic concept of the composition, you can see that this is going into an interesting direction. To combine all these elements. It would be also interesting to have this wolf go behind the tree over here. So there's a lot more things that can be done with that. And we are not finished, of course. This is just for the basic idea, for the basic composition. You can also see that you can do more with different kind of blend modes and try around which direction you want to go. Maybe this is also nice. It's a bit more ghostly. But this is the first episode. I want to stop here because we're already at 23 minutes. Is just to find a basic composition where you want to go. And then in the next episode, we can work at the different details, light and color, and how to put everything together. But this is the first part. And I really want to suggest to you, create different compositions. Even if you're not going to use them, this is a very good exercise to get the feeling and go into it. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next episode of our Red Riding Hood project. And thank you for watching. And if you like my videos, maybe subscribe to my channel. And if you want to support me even more, head over to Patreon, where you can get my original files and post pictures for my feedback and all the good stuff. Okay, thank you very much. Bye.